Storytime about why my aunt put me back into foster care. Yes, she put me back into foster camp. So a little background information, I was 15 years old and a sophomore in high school. But whenever I was 12 years old, I was in a very abusive household. And I had two younger sisters, one was 11 and the other one was 9. Fast forward, all of us were put into foster care. I got placed in the many shelters/group homes because of my behavioral issues. While I was going through all of this, my sisters were both in steady homes, so that kind of sucked in. I was happy for them, but at the same time, I was going through hell. But eventually, my grandma and my dad passed away, so my aunt decided that she wanted my sisters and I. So she got her foster license, and the days leading up to whenever we were supposed to move them with her were absolute garbage. There was this one girl who was 19 years old. Her and I did not get along, and I was supposed to leave that Wednesday, but I didn't want to wait, so I decided that I was going to get myself kicked out in hopes that I would be able to move them with my aunt sooner. So like I said, I found a way that I was gonna get kicked out, and it was by fighting this girl. And yes, I won. But fast forward, eventually my sisters and I moved in with my aunt. And if you guys ever heard the phrase honeymoon, you probably think of a relationship, right? Wrong. I was actually shocked about how fast everything went downhill whenever we got there. Like eventually my cousins just started being mean to me for no reason, while they favored my sisters. And when I say cousin, you guys are probably thinking they're around my age. No, they were actually in their 20s. Hell, one was even close to 30. Like, these were grown-ass adults beating on a 15-year-old. So eventually, my cousins, my aunt, and I are fighting almost every single day. And the one day my sister and I got into an argument that eventually turned into us fighting. And my cousins love to jump in every fight that my sister and I have. Well, they jumped in this fight, and instead of helping break it up, they actually made it worse. The one was holding my leg down, and eventually I got it up and I kicked her in the face. And when my aunt thought that it was my fault, she sent me to foster care. Storytime about how my boyfriend was seeing me and some other girl at the same time. So a little background information, I was 16 years old and a junior in high school, and we're gonna call my boyfriend Tyler. So Tyler and I met back in middle school, but we were like barely even friends. Well, fast forward to my junior year in high school, he reached out to me and eventually him and I were talking every single day. Just fast forward 3 months, him and I were definitely more than a friendship because we would do everything that couples would do just without the label. Well, the one day him and I are hanging out and we're taking pictures on his Snapchat and sending them to his friends. And then I feed that his #1 best friend is this girl named Bailey. Now, the reason why I wasn't on his best friends list was because I didn't have Snapchat. But the only reason why this is a problem is because him and his friends Snapchat each other all day. And I'm talking like spam the farts out of each other. So for her to get the top of his best friend list, they have to be Snapchatting a lot. So I have asked her if it was this one girl that we both knew. Like I said, he's clearly been Snapchatting this girl a lot. So then I asked her if it's this Bailey girl that we actually knew, and he was like, no, this is Bailey Moore. That other Bailey is disgusting. Like, as a, what the fuck is so special about this one? Just kidding, not really. Shigam Suplan and I cannot get this girl out of my head because he didn't even try to explain who she was or why she had any significance in his life at all. So fast forward to spring break. He told me that whenever we got back from vacation, he wanted me to meet his parents, but I was so happy about because our relationship is finally progressing. And then I remember that he's supposed to get me his hen Tom's prom with some other girl, of course. So I decided to look up this Bailey girl just to see where she's from, and what do you know, she's from his hometown. So fast forward, I ended up getting in trouble for going out and getting drunk, and my parents stood by blown away, and then they went through it. And they found out that Tyler and I were doing the nasty, so they guarded me. And they were like, using tell Tyler that he can text or call us if he wants to talk to you. I didn't get any texts the whole entire time that I was grounded. So fast forward a whole week, I finally text him like for part 3. Storytime about how this girl pretended to be my best friend just to go on vacation with me. So a little background information, I was 14 and a freshman in high school, and we're to call this girl Sophia. So Sophia and I met whenever we were in 6th grade, and we were inseparable. And shortly after her and I had became best friends, my mom thought that it would be nice for us to go on vacation to Hawaii in 2 years. She also said that my brother and I would be able to bring one friend each. So I asked Sophia if she wanted to come to Hawaii in 2 years, and of course she said yes. Keep in mind, I was popular, Sophia was kinda lame, and I'm not even saying that just to be mean, but it's true. So over the next 2 years, her and I are hanging out every day, sneaking out together because we also live like 2 minutes away from each other. And my brother decided that he was gonna bring his friend Noah, and I had a crush on Noah, and Sophia knew this, but she would always flirt with him in front of me. I really should have saw this as a red flag, but you know, we love to ignore those. And then out of nowhere, Sophia starts dressing like me and starts getting more popular in school. So like they said, she had been flirting with this guy that she knew that I liked, and then she starts dressing like me and getting more popular, which I didn't really care because I was still her best friend. Maybe because she didn't really have any other friends. So fast forward, vacation comes around and we all go to Hawaii. We had the best time ever. And the weeks of world and I barely hear from her, but I was putting in all the effort, texting her every day, and her responses were dry as fuck. And then she had this boyfriend named Brandon, which I guess that could have been the reason why she wasn't targeting me as much. Because you get into a relationship and all your focus goes towards that, especially at this age. But the only reason why she started dating him was because he was popular. So they break up and she stopped talking to me altogether. She even blocked me on Instagram. So I asked her what happened and she said that I was a controlling bitch and she didn't want to be friends with me, which doesn't even make any sense because I'd never been controlling to her. And then she started texting me like everything was okay, and this went on for a little bit. But after a few months, I just stopped talking to her, but I definitely felt used. Story time about how my fiance cheated on me with 10 other girls. So a little background information, I met this guy on Instagram and we're gonna call him Blaze. Now, when him and I met, he was stationed in Korea and he refused to ask me to be his girlfriend until he came home. So I waited an entire year for him to ask me to be his girlfriend. Which little t-shirt of a red flag, but he made it seem romantic in some twisted, weird way. So fast forward, he comes home in February, and he kept to his promise. The first day that we met, he asked me to be his girlfriend. So I say yes, fast forward. Him and I started having a ton of arguments because of things that he was doing while he was in Korea. Fast forward, we're officially together for 9 months. So fast forward, of course, he gets deployed to Europe in September of 2022. So this man decides that he's gonna propose to me in July and then beg me to get married to him before he leaves. Now, I may have ignored the first red flags, but I'm not dumb. Telling this that this man begs me to get married to him before he leaves, and thank goodness I didn't because divorce papers would have been served the same day. So fast forward, he starts acting super weird. He's going out 24/7, he's getting drunk, he's not wearing the ring that he begged me to get him. Yes, he literally begged me for a ring so that way women would know that he had a girlfriend. Well then, of course, I get DM from a girl on Instagram asking if him and I were still together. And then after talking to her, I realized he literally made a Tinder 2 days after he got deployed. And what was his excuse? Oh, I wanted to meet friends to teach me German. And listen, I was not born last night, so I kept that conversation going because I wanted to get to the bottom of what the fuck was actually going on. And then of course he finally comes clean that he cheated on me with a bunch of girls. But and you want to know the icing on the cake? One of them was a minor. Yup. After I leave him, he has the audacity to ask for my ring that, but I pretended to tell the sergeant and then I sold it for double what it was worth. Story time about how I unintentionally almost drowned my sister. So a little background information, I was 8 years old and my sister was 5. And during the summer, my sister and I never really got to go swimming because pool memberships were really expensive and my family did not want to take us to a public pool. So every summer we would go to my grandpa's house so that way we could go swimming, but he lived 2 hours away, so we would only go there once a summer. And since we only got to go swimming this one time, we would usually be in the pool 24/7. So fast forward, we're all at my grandpa's house. And I finished my dinner first, so I went outside and I put my sister's floaties on because I'm pretty sure that mine actually popped. A quick thing, we were allowed to go into the pool without floaties on if we stayed in the shallow end of the pool because we couldn't swim for shit. Anyway, so I put her floaties on and I darted the deep end and she comes outside like a bat out of hell and she starts screaming and crying. And being the big sister I am, I'm just swimming around, ignoring her, enjoying my time in the pool. Like I said, I have her floaties on, I'm in the deep end of the pool, she's screaming at me, telling me to take them off, I'm ignoring her. And then what does her crazy ass decide to do? She decides to get into the pool and try and get them from me. Now my sister was super tiny, and even being in the shallow end of the pool, she really couldn't stick her head above the water. I'm pretty sure that all swimming pools are like this, but there's a slope that goes into the deep end and it's super slippery. So she comes over to try and get the floaties from me and then she slips. It was literally like a cartoon where the cartoon characters are moving their feet backwards really fast. And I thought that she was just jolting around, so I'm just sitting there staring at her. And so she actually starts choking and then my dad hurries up and runs outside, thank God. I feel like dads just have superpowers to know whenever their kids are in trouble. Anyway, so he jumps into the pool and he saves her. He ends up spraining his ankle and I wasn't allowed in the pool for the rest of the weekend. Now, of course, this had me pretty pissed off, but now that I'm an adult, I can see why. Story time about my experience with Karma. So a little background information, I was 17 in an 11th grade, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a mean person. Well, not kind of, I just was mean. I found joy out of annoying and making fun of people. Yeah, I know there was something probably wrong with me, leave me alone. Anyway, so I would low-key always bully my cousin. And when she would get upset about it, I would make it seem as if it was a joke. Well, I guess the one day she had enough of me because there was this boy that I really liked and we didn't know each other at all. Like, we had never spoken one word to each other. And my cousin knew that I liked this boy. So she decided that she was going to email him asking him out. And no, this is one of those situations where she tried to steal the guy that I liked. Nope, instead she went on my email and emailed him acting like me. Sis must have been determined to get her look back because I don't even know how she used the password to my email. So the next day at school, him and I are in citizenship, and we're all on our laptops for this lesson. Well, all of a sudden, I heard him whisper my name to the popular girl that sits next to him. Like I said, I heard him whisper my name to the popular girl that sits next to him, and she have never liked me. I never bullied her. I know I said I was a mean person, but I didn't bully her. She just hated me. So of course, she thinks it would be funny to probably in front of the whole class, and she's like, why would you email him asking him out? Not only was I embarrassed, but I was shocked because I was like, what are you talking about? Honestly, I thought that they were lying, so I was like, whatever, I'll check when I get home. Well, when I went home after you took my email, what do you know? There it is. An email sent from my laptop saying, hey, I really like you. Do what adorables me. I forget how, but I found out that it was my cousin. I didn't do anything to her because the damage is already done at that point. Very good bullying so that for that week. And I don't even know why everybody was being so extra about it. It's not like this kid had a girlfriend or anything. But people were whispering rude things to me in class, and the one day that we was in the locker room, a popular girl starts yelling that I have blood on my pants. Like, she screamed it so loud, everybody heard it. And I tried asking my cousin if there was anything. She was ignoring me. So now on top of the whole email situation, I was dealing with that. Obviously, eventually, everything died down. But I definitely learned my lesson, and I'm no longer a bully. Story tell about how my best friend was a snake. So a little background information, I'm 16 and in 9th grade. And I've been best friends with this girl who we're gonna call Callie since 5th grade. Well, fast forward to 8th grade, there was this guy in my class that I really liked. And obviously I told Callie about it because, like, duh, she is my best friend. And she has never talked to this boy. She never even knew who he was before I had told her about him. And by the way, we're gonna call him Jake. Well, eventually him and I started talking and she was hyping us up. Like, she really wanted us to be together so bad. And I was really feeling the love and support. Well, not long after that, I had to move to another town for like 3 months because of my dad. So Jake and we stopped talking after me being gone for like 2 weeks. And of course, not long after that, one of my friends from home texted me and she's like, hey, you know Callie and that guy that you were talking to, right? AKA Jake. Obviously, I say yes. So like I said, I had to move away for 3 months because of my dad, and Jake and I stopped talking about 2 weeks after I had left. Even I get a text from my friend saying, hey, you know, Talia, my friend that you were talking to, Jake. Obviously, I say yes. And then she goes, oh, well, they're talking about getting together. And I was livid. I'm like, dude, I've literally been gone for like less than a month, and you're already trying to get with the guy that I liked. What the actual you know what? So I bawled my eyes out for like 2 hours straight. And then it was like that I'm going to confront her. And she literally says to me, like, she has the audacity to say that she's been in love with him for so long, even before I had told her about him. Which is a lie, because as I told you guys earlier, she didn't know this man. Well, anyways, Jake ended up friend-zoning her, and she didn't even really apologize to me. She said sorry, but like, she didn't acknowledge the importance of the situation and how it made me feel. She just thought that saying sorry would make it all better. Story time about how one of my best friends started blackmailing me. So a little background information, I was 16 years old and a junior in high school. There are parents and friends with this other married couple who has a son that is around my age. He's 17, about to be 18, and what do they call him, Derek? Well, him and I somehow ended up getting into the same friend group, and he got my number, and him and I started texting a lot. So fast forward, my birthday comes around, and I end up having a party. And some of my cousins were around my age as well, so they were there, and my whole friend group was there, including Derek, of course. Well, surprise, surprise, there were booze and marijuana there, so I ended up getting kinda messed up. And then, as you could guess, Derek and I did the nasty. And surprise again, he had took some pictures and videos of me drinking and stuff. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he sent me a message that literally said for me to send him nude pictures and do stuff for him physically, or else he was gonna send these pictures to my parents. So like I said, he took some pictures and videos of me doing some stuff for my party, and then all of a sudden I get a message out of nowhere saying that I need to send him nude photos and do stuff for him physically, or else he was gonna send these pictures to my parents, and the whole school literally blackmailed me. Now, of course, I didn't want my parents to find any of this crap out, so it became a regular thing between him and I, where I would send him pictures and then do stuff for him, and this went on for a while. Fast forward, thankfully I'm about to graduate and he doesn't blackmail me anymore since both of us don't want a serious relationship. I don't really know how that makes sense, but yeah.
Storytell about how my sister sold my nudes. Yes, my own sister. So a little background information, I was in 12th grade and I was pretty popular, and my sister on the other hand, she was in 9th grade. Not even saying this to boost my ego, but she was jealous of me and everybody could tell. Mainly because of the fact that she didn't have her high school glow up, she low-key still looked like a 6th grader. And there were very few guys who gave her attention, and some of the guys would even tell her that I was hotter than her. But that did not help the situation at all. For a week, I even paid attention to any of these guys because I had a boyfriend, and my sister and I still shared a room even though our brothers got their own rooms. So she could literally go through my shit anytime she wanted. Well, since we shared a room and I never thought that she would sell my nudes, I would take these exposing pictures of myself while she was in the room. Well, she had this one friend named Jessica who also was weirdly obsessed with me. I think she was saying how funny it would be to sell someone's nudes. So like I said, my sister had this friend, and the one day they were talking about how funny it would be to sell somebody's pics. We all laughed, joked about it, the conversation was over and done with. I thought that was it. Like, in all honesty, I thought it was one of those things where you designate plans to do something and then after the conversation you never talk about it again and you never actually do it. You said you were gonna do because it was so out of pocket. So my sister's friend slept over that night and I looked up, went to school earlier because I have volunteer work to do, so my sister usually just takes the bus. Well, I accidentally left my computer at school, so I called my sister, asked her if she could grab it and bring it into school. Now, my computer is connected to my phone. Well, I guess they decided to be little creeps and they went on my computer and they found my pictures and they sent them to themselves. And since my phone and computer are hooked up, I was able to see that they sent the pictures to themselves. So I start blowing up her phone, but by first period, I had a bunch of people telling me that they were about to buy my pictures. My sister literally made an ad and put it on Snapchat. My boyfriend broke up with me and I never talked to her at her.
Story time about my toxic ex-best friend. So a little background information, I had a very close guy friend who we're gonna call Max. Now, Max was 2 years older than me, but due to our families being super close, him and I became best friends. Growing up, I saw him as kind of an older brother, and then eventually as we grew up, I saw him as my best friend, until I realized that he was actually a terrible person, and I missed all of his times that he was not a real friend. Like one, our first fight, I told him something that I didn't want anybody else knowing. And what do you know, right after I tell him, my family knows, his family knows, my crush knows, all of our friends know. After this, I probably should have distanced myself, but he apologized and we became friends again. That was sign number one. Sign number two, his huge change in attitude. One second, he would be extremely rude to me, and then he would be this really sweet and caring guy, and his apologies were the rest. So it was really hard not to forgive him. He was like a master manipulator. Number three, we only talked whenever it was convenient for him. Like seriously, we would never talk unless he needed something. I think we left off on sign number three, which was the only time that we would talk was when it was convenient for him. He would never reach out, which left me being the one who was constantly trying to preserve our friendship or whatever was left of it. Like all of our messages were literally me, and it made me seem really needy and like I was putting in way too much effort because he would literally answer was the most simple messages. Like, yeah, okay, sure. And he would only talk to me whenever he was with his friends. Sign number four, it felt like he was embarrassed of me. Now, I know that I was 2 years younger than him, but we were still friends, and I really don't think that's that much of a difference. Like, he would never want to be seen with me. The last sign, he would literally always talk about me behind my back. And I thought this was just rumors at first, until finally several people told me that it was not a rumor. He would say things like, oh, she's ugly, she's so mature, she's annoying and childish, she's so annoying. And then I finally decided to cut him off. Because if that outweighed the good, was it really worth keeping that person in my life? Story tale about how my stepdad made my mom choose between him and my brothers. Still a little background information, I was 13 years old and in 7th grade, and I had 2 older brothers, Josh and Alex, who were twins and they were both 4 years older than me. Whenever I was 3, my dad left my mom for his dentist, and we never saw him again because he decided to start a whole new family with them. Now, because of that, my older brothers always felt like they had a specific role in my family, especially because the dice that my mom brought home, they would only last a week. Well, finally, my mom met this guy who was really nice, and she decided that she was going to get married to him, but he despised my older brothers. Mainly because before he moved in with us, my mom would not depend on him for anything. Anything that needed taken care of around the house, my brothers would do it. And we didn't have too much money while this guy was loaded. Like the one time my mom and this guy who we're gonna call Jerry got into a fight. So like I said, my mom and Jerry got into this one fight. It is a super long story, but pretty much all that Jerry realized was that he did not have authority over my mother, and she didn't have to depend on him for anything because my brothers would always be there for her. Now, Alex was more of the shy one. Meanwhile, Josh was super hot-headed and couldn't deal with anybody's bullshit. And fast forward, my mom and Jerry lived in together. That's when we realized that Jerry was super abusive. And Jerry knew that he could pick on Alex wherever he wanted because he wasn't going to do shit. And most of the time, Josh wasn't home because he literally hated Jerry. The one time Alex came home and he did really bad on this one test. And Jerry was like, oh, he needs to learn discipline, blah, blah, blah. The next day, we all were sitting down for breakfast and we saw Alex from downstairs with a black eye. And that's whenever Josh flipped the fuck out. He grabbed Jerry, ripped him across the fucking table, and threatened him with a kitchen knife. And my mom called the cops. So like I said, he said he needed to teach some discipline, so he literally beat the shit out of Alex. And we all didn't know until he came downstairs the one morning for breakfast. And that's whenever Josh let the hell out. He threatened Jerry with a knife. After that, my mom called the cops. We didn't really do anything but try to de-escalate the situation. But after that, Jerry called a family meeting down to the kitchen table. And he was like, I will not deal with this level of disrespect in this house. He was like, you need to choose between me or them. She was like, well, I'm not going to choose between you or my kids. And he was like, well, then you need to choose them leaving the house. They're about to be 18. They can leave and get their own place. So my mom ended up choosing Jerry because Jerry had a lot of money. And my brothers weren't really that mad about it because it got them out of the house. And my mom would send them a lot of money every month. And Jerry never knew about it. But now instead of him being abusive towards my brothers, he's way more abusive towards my mom. Story about my extremely creepy neighbors. So a little background information, I was 12 years old and I was in 6th grade, and my family and I lived in a really small town where everyone knew everyone. But our new neighbors had been building their house next to us for the past 4 years. And finally, when they were done with the house, this house was huge. I mean, probably because there were like 8 people moving into the house. There was the mom, the dad, 4 kids, and their grandparents. So like 8 people. But I was super excited because I was like, okay, this is awesome. I get to meet some new friends. But after 2 weeks of not seeing anybody playing in the backyard or anybody on the school bus, I started to think that their family was super fucking weird. And everyone in our neighborhood liked to gossip, and everyone was saying how they barely see the people who had just moved in. So my mom decided to take one for the team and make some brownies, take them over to the house, and I ended up going with her. So we go to the house, we knock on the door, and one of the kids came and opened the door, but the dad ran over and grabbed him. Life for part 2. Hard to deal about my extremely creepy neighbors. So like I said, my mom and I took some brownies over there, and one of the kids opened the door, and when he opened the door, he had a bunch of bruises all over his body. The dad came running over and ripped his son from the door and slammed the door in our faces, and all you could hear was him screaming at his son. So my mom and I went to walk away before the door opened, and he was like, sorry, my son knows better than to open the door to strangers. We took the brownies, and then I asked him if I could have a sleepover with one of his daughters. And he was super hesitant at first, but he said that I could only have a sleepover with her if it was at my house and not theirs, which my mom was completely fine with anyways because she thought that it was a little bit weird that his son had bruises covering his whole body. So that night when she came over to sleep over my house, I asked her how her brothers and others bruises all over his body, and she said that he just fell down some stairs. But after that, we became best friends. And we would literally hang out like 5 times a week until the one day I knocked on their door to ask if she wanted to come over, and her dad answered the door and said that she was gone. So like I said, I became best friends with their daughter, but the one day I went over her house to ask if she wanted to come over, and her dad answered the door and said that she was gone. And when I asked when she would be back, she was like, she went to go live with her mom, so probably never. Which was super weird because she never mentioned that she had another mom. So fast forward 2 months, my family and I are sitting around the fire pit when we hear someone scream help. But we weren't sure if that's what we were actually hearing because it was so quiet, and then all of a sudden we heard someone banging on my neighbor's basement door. You know those metal doors that people usually have outside of their house that lead down basement steps? Yeah, well that's where the banging was coming from, so my dad hopped over the fence to see if that's where the screaming was coming from also, and then not even a minute later my dad hopped back over the fence and it looked like he saw a ghost, but he ran inside, called 911. Because I was so young, the only thing my parents told me about that whole situation was that the girl that I was friends with was still alive and her parents were keeping her in the basement along with 2 of her other siblings. But then we also found out that they weren't even her real parents. They were kidnapped at the hospital when they were born.